Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And this is the Pulse News on 4th January newspaper front page dawn. Supreme Court questions legality of uplift grant for lawmakers. Apex Court seeks responses from federal provincial governments by Nasir Iqbal. Islamabad, the Supreme Court on Wednesday took exception to media reports about approval by Prime Minister Imran Khan of rupees 500 million each as uplift grant to PTI lawmakers and fixed the matter for February 10 to decide whether proceed with it or end it after considering responses from the federal and provincial governments. In a 4-page order, two-judge Supreme Court bench consisting of Justice Qazi Faiz Isa and Justice Makbul Bakr cited Article 5.2 that mandates obedience to the Constitution and law as in violence obligation of every citizen, and said Article 204.2 of the Constitution empowered the Supreme Court to take action against any person who disobeys any order of the court. Moreover, the oath of office of the judges also required them to preserve, perfect, and defend the Constitution. To preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Presiding over a parliamentary party meeting on January 27th, the Prime Minister had accepted a long-standing demand of the ruling PTI lawmakers for development funds and announced granting rupees 500 million each to members of the national and provincial assemblies under the Sustainable Development Goals, and so that they could carry out developmental schemes in their constituencies. The Supreme Court summoned Attorney General for Pakistan AGP Khalid David Khan to seek his opinion and advice whether the proposed distribution of public funds is in accordance with the Constitution and the 2014 Supreme Court judgment in a case relating to distribution of development funds by former Prime Minister Raja Pervez Ashraf. Justice Issa also asked the AGP whether the federal and provincial governments had handed over or intended to hand over the funds to the legislators or carry out the development works identified by them. The AGP said he needed time to ascertain the facts and to seek instructions, but explained that he would not countenance anything against any provision of the Constitution and the cited precedent Pervez Ashraf case. Justice Issa observed that the court wanted answers to the questions and directed the court office to issue notices to the federal government through the cabinet secretary, principal secretary of the Prime Minister, and Secretary Finance, and to all provincial governments through their respective chief secretaries. And the secretaries of finance departments. Notices were also issued to the AGP and Advocates General for the Punjab, Sindh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Balochistan, as well as Islamabad, the Capital Territory, ICT, asking them to furnish their replies. Depending on the responses and replies, the order explained this matter might either be concluded or if the responses were considered by the court not in accordance with the Constitution and decided uh, precedent, the same might be required to be taken up further and the matter be referred to Chief Justice of Pakistan, Gulzar Ahmad, for constitution of a bench for the determination of the matter. In the order, Justice Isas stated that it had been widely reported in national uh, dailies, including the responsible newspaper Dawn on January 28, 2021, under the headline of this 500 million uplift grant for each lawmaker okayed, which quoted our minister as saying that the Prime Minister announced rupees 500 million for each MNA and MPA so that they could initiate developmental schemes in their constituencies. Likewise, on February 1, the same newspaper wrote an editorial titled Development Funds and questioned the decision by the Prime Minister to hand out ₹500 million to development funds to each federal and provincial lawmaker of his party for carrying out schemes in their respective constituencies. Apparently, neither the news report or the subsequent editorial comment were denied or contradicted by the government or by the Prime Minister. The Supreme Court order said. In the Raja Parvez Ashraf case, the Supreme Court had held that the discretionary grant of the Prime Minister should not be spent at the absolute directions discretion of the executive, rather in a structured manner. And besides, the National Assembly, while giving assent to a grant and to be utilized by the executive at its discretion, has to follow the procedure provided in Article 80 to 84 as well as the Rules of Procedure 2007. The 2014 judgment had also held that the Constitution did not permit the use or allocation of funds to the MNAs, MPAs, or notable at the sole direction of the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister if there is any practice of allocation of funds to the MNAs, MPAs, or notables at the sole discretion of the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister. The same is illegal and unconstitutional, and that the government is bound to establish procedure or criteria for governing allocation to such funds for this purpose, it said. The judgment had also declared that the funds could be provided for development schemes by way of supplementary grants, but for that purpose, the procedure provided in Article 80 to 84 of the Constitution and the rules, instructions had to be followed. The funds can be allocated by way of reappropriation, but the procedure provided in the Constitution and the rules have to be followed in its true respective perspective. The judgment had held, adding that no bulk grant could be made in the budget without giving detailed estimates under each grant divided into items so that every item had to be specified. The amount as approved in the budget passed by the National Assembly have to be utilized for the purpose specified in the budget statement. And the verdict had held, adding that any reappropriation of the funds or their utilization for some other purpose through within, though within the permissible limits of the budget, were not justified. In such circumstances, it added the supplementary budget statement had to be placed before Parliament following the procedure provided in Article 80 to 84 of the Constitution and the rules of procedures. And in the end, the formal request, if you have not yet, kindly subscribe to our channel and press the like and bell button to get the fresh from us. Thank you for watching. Have a nice time and goodbye.